In the afterglow of Super Bowl 51, we wanted to tell you about another football game nearly a century ago.
It was a college game at the University of Minnesota, but the stakes were even higher and the game far more brutal. Tom Lydon of the Fox 9 Investigators has the story.
They're down, goal to go on the Iowa 2. He catches that ball for a gain of 11 yards.
How do you take the measure of a college football hero? Is it the scale of the accomplishment in yards and wins? Or is it the struggle, the sacrifice? Can greatness be found even in life-crushing defeat?
If you're a college football fan, the name Jack Trice may sound vaguely familiar. You may even know that the football stadium here at Iowa State in Ames is named after Jack Trice. What you may not know is that he is not only an Iowa legend, he is also part of Minnesota history as well.
I really truly think that he was targeted just because he was African American.
Breon Creer grew up in Minnesota, but never heard Jack Trice's name until he came to play at Iowa State.
Do you think in some ways Minnesota doesn't want to know this story?
I feel like in a way it is, because it's just kind of like one of the darker stories that you kind of don't want to be held accountable of.
You know, nobody has ever said to Minnesota, you caused his death. He was hurt up there and died down here.
Steve Jones wrote a biography on Jack Trice that reads like a whodunit.
That's one of the mysteries of the story. What really happened to Jack Trice?
The year was 1923. Jack Trice was recruited by his old high school coach to play football at Iowa State. At 6'2", 200 pounds, he was a formidable player for his time. Born in Ohio, the grandson of slaves, Trice was one of 22 black students at Iowa State, but was forced to live off campus with his wife. He got a job as a janitor and would even clean the cleats of his all-white teammates.
He was very conscious of his place. What did he really think deep down? We don't really know.
It was almost exclusively a white man's game in the 1920s. Some schools would forfeit rather than play a black man. Missouri's athletic director wrote to warn Ames, "This whole question is bigger than our athletics. We cannot permit a colored man on any team we play." Jack Trice's first game was an exhibition against Simpson, a small college. Iowa State won easily. In the second game of the season, they'd be the underdog.
Now we're playing Minnesota, and the Gophers in the 1920s were an extremely formidable program with great tradition and huge crowds. He's never played on that kind of a stage.
But when the team arrived at the old Curtis Hotel in Minneapolis, Jack was told he could not room or dine with his white teammates.
He was by himself on a separate floor, a separate room. He was up in his hotel room. There was no internet, there was no television. You know, there was time to have some reflective thought.
That night, all alone, Trice would write a note on Curtis Hotel stationery.
This is the letter. It's kept in this protective enclosure.
The original is kept in the archives of Iowa State. Addressed to whom it may concern, Trice writes, "The honor of my race, family, and self are at stake. Everyone is expecting me to do big things. I will. My whole body and soul are to be thrown recklessly about on the field tomorrow."
It's almost like there's some foreboding he has about what's about to take place, so that he might not be around to explain himself after the game.
Writer John Rosengren has called Trice a martyr of the gridiron and says Trice would have had good reason to worry. The Ku Klux Klan was on the rise in Minnesota. That very weekend, the Klan was holding its statewide convention in St. Paul. A Klan leader ran that year for Minneapolis mayor. The Klan even had a float in the U of M homecoming parade.
That's what makes it such a big deal, because he knows that the racial issues are at play that day on the field.
The next day, Jack Trice would be the only black man on Northrop Field.
It was a rough game.
On the second play, Trice breaks his collarbone, but refuses to leave the game. Then, late in the third quarter, Trice throws his body horizontally in front of the tackle, just like he wrote the night before.
Our understanding is that Jack Trice attempted a roll block, which even back then wasn't taught or coached much because it was dangerous.
Trice lands on his back and is trampled.
The story was that that he threw the block and that 3 Minnesota players stomped on him.
Bob Patron is a former archivist with the University of Minnesota. His grandfather saw that game 94 years ago.
He didn't want to see any more Minnesota football because they had, more or less led to the deaths of, Jack.
Trice was reportedly carried off the field to chants of "We're sorry, Ames." He was taken to University Hospital, released a few hours later, and joined the team on the train back to Ames that night. By the next day, Trice was in excruciating pain, bleeding internally. But surgery, with the risk of infection, was considered too risky. 2 days after the Minnesota game, on a Monday, the bells of the Campanile would ring at 3 p.m. Jack Trice was dead at 21.
Do you believe Jack Trice was murdered?
I think he was probably targeted. I don't know if he was targeted because he was an exceptional football player or because of his race. But I do think that the Minnesota players probably went after him as hard as they went after anybody.
At his funeral, Iowa State's president would read Jack's note that had been discovered in his jacket pocket. University of Minnesota President Lotus Kaufman would send a condolence letter to Iowa, writing that the play took place directly in front of me. He threw himself in front of the play. There was no piling up.
I mean, everyone seems to want to believe that the play was clean.
Well, certainly Kaufman had a stake in that.
Certainly the uniforms back then, with their leather helmets, offered players little protection. Fatal injuries were not uncommon. But there was never an official inquiry into Jack Trice's death. In 1997, Iowa State officially christened Jack Trice Stadium. It remains the only major college stadium named after an African American, a fact not lost on Trice's descendants.
It's not normal to have a stadium named after a player, especially a black player, and someone that died from injuries and really only played one game in his career. So
Minnesota won the game that day, 20-17, but it would be a hollow victory. It would also be the final season for the Gophers at Northrop Field, which once sat across from the old Armory. Bob Patron, for one, believes there should be something on the U of M campus, a plaque at the very least, that would recognize Trice's sacrifice.
I just can't, get them to wake up to this fact that, he was a national hero.
A hero whose college football career lasted all of 2 games, and yet he was playing for the ages, leaving behind a letter and a legacy of just how high the stakes could be for a black man playing football in 1923.
The decision to rename Cyclone Stadium Jack Trice Stadium did not happen overnight, far from it. It was a 24-year battle taken on by several generations of Iowa State students. It is certainly a compelling story, so perhaps no surprise that Hollywood producers have recently talked about turning Jack Trice's story into a feature-length film. And if you want to know more about Jack Trice, we have some links to some of the primary historical materials at Iowa State, and you can find that over at the Fox 9 app. And we want to thank Iowa State. They were very generous in supplying us a lot of materials for this story. And it's like a historical mystery. I think it's really fascinating.
Growing up here, I'd never heard the story before.
Yeah, in Iowa they all know it. In Minnesota, less so, obviously.
I'm curious, Tom, about the history of that and if there's anything that would indicate what his teammates, what Trice's teammates may have said about that.
Yeah, there is some historical record about that. You know, his teammates are all deceased at this point. But over the years, they'd given sometimes conflicting accounts, really, of what happened on the field that day. Most have said they thought it was an accident, but they also, almost to a person, admit that we will never really know exactly what happened.
Well, you know, at the very least, the University of Minnesota should put a plaque up down at TCF Bank Stadium and tell this story.
You know, it's a story. Reason
has
we
a-
did it, we think it's a story worth remembering.
It has a broader message. and I
Like you
think
said,
that's-
Absolutely.
it's going to end up in the movie theaters more than likely.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Tom.